So today we're going to be talking about breakups, which hopefully you don't have to actually experience too often in your life, but chances are you will at some point. It does happen to the very best of us. Emily's been dumped before. Is that true?
Yeah, so have you. We all have.
Actually, have I been dumped? I don't think I have.
I've been rejected, not dumped.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. I've dumped other people, but
dump, I'm realizing, is a very harsh word.
Yeah, it is.
Breakups. We're talking about breakups, not dumps.
Dumps. They all dump.
We're going to be talking about breakups in this video. If you are going through this, we're sorry. Or if you have a friend that's going through this, hopefully this video will help. We're going to give you a couple pieces of practical advice on what to do after a breakup. So stay tuned. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Justin.
And I'm Emily.
And you are watching That Christian Vlogger. And on this channel, our goal is to help you understand the Bible just a little bit better and to help you apply it to your day-to-day life. Today, we're going to look specifically in breakup seasons of life. Those are oftentimes the most painful, the most difficult moments. And what does the Bible say about this? What kind of advice can we get?
Yeah. So you have been doing the dumping, but you haven't been dumped?
Not the dumping, the breakup.
The breakup.
But yes, the relationship that I told you guys about in a previous video, the one where I asked the girl out at Disneyland, that relationship went on for almost 2 years, which is kind of crazy when you're like a freshman or sophomore in high school. But the reason why that relationship ended was actually there was a second girl that was involved. So what happened was I was in the relationship with the first girl, and she kept saying that this other girl was flirting with me. And I'm a very ignorant person when it comes to that. Like that probably was happening, like the flirting, whatever, but I'm always blind to that kind of stuff. I never picked up on it. But the more and more that she mentioned it, the more I was like, huh, you're right. This girl does seem to like me. And like my mind started wandering in that direction. And you know, over the course of several months, broke up with the first girl, ended up with a second girl.
Oh boy. That's crazy.
A whole lot of drama. I know that I did not handle that situation well. Yeah. I did not handle that even remotely close to the way that, you know, someone who's trying to be a Christian ought to. But I learned something very important from that. My first relationship failed because I was a very selfish person. It wasn't about what I could give to the other person. It was about what I could like get. I was like one of those leeches, just like trying to suck and just get value only for myself. And you know, once the fun and the kind of novelty of that first relationship like wore off, I was ready to move on to the next thing. So here I am in the second relationship, and since it happened so quickly, I'm the exact same person. I'm still very selfish.
You're making the same mistakes.
Exactly. And what happened was, you know, about 1.5 years later, that second relationship ended up dying, largely because of the exact same reason that the first one ended up with. It was because I was a selfish and immature person. And so when we're talking about what to do after a breakup, one of the first things that we have written on this nice, you know, notepad that Emily has here as a therapist is rebound. What do you mean by rebound, babe?
Rebounding is right after you get out of a relationship, and I kind of did this with my first breakup, and then you automatically go searching for a second relationship to kind of fill that void, that empty piece that you had in your first relationship.
Yeah, you're used to hanging out with other people. You're used to having that person that you text or that you call every night.
Yeah.
And you miss that, and you want that. And I think that totally makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you care about someone, when they leave your life, that hurts.
Yeah, it hurts. And so you want to fill that void and that hurt, but you're going to only damage yourself and the other person because you're not going into it from the right reasons, from the right perspective, with the right emotional health.
Absolutely.
So
our first piece of advice is do not go for like a rebound relationship. In fact, there's a decent chance after a breakup that the healthiest thing that you could do is to dedicate a season of singleness.
Yeah.
And instead of you know, being so focused on the next relationship, your goal is to grow and to become a better person. I would challenge you to look inwardly. You know, obviously the other person had mistakes, but obviously you also had mistakes. Unless you're perfect, there was something that you did wrong in that relationship. And I would challenge you to do the mature thing and say, where did I mess up? Where did I make mistakes? And how can I learn from this so that my future relationships, aren't sabotaged in the same way that the first one was as well.
Yeah, for sure. A season of singleness is really key. I remember guys in high school they were the guys who were always dating. They like never had a month where they were not with someone, and they were kind of acted the same in a relationship, kind of like you were saying.
And when you find those kinds of people, because I've had friends like that as well, whenever the relationship breaks up, it's always the other person's fault.
Yeah,
if you probably have one of those friends or one of those family members in your lives who only dates jerks, like they have quote unquote bad luck, they always find the wrong person.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that might be true, but least common denominator is that person's in the relationship. And if they're just serially going from one relationship to another, it might be that they're actually the root cause of some of the strife in that relationship. Yeah. And so season of singleness is probably really, really healthy for you.
Yeah. So what were some positive things you did after breakups during your season of singleness? Yeah.
So after that second breakup, thankfully, like the way that God organized it was that I didn't have another relationship for actually several years. And this is actually the verse that we want to share with you guys right here. It's Psalms 37 verse 4 and 5 is really the main hub of advice for this video. It says, "Delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Commit your ways to the Lord, trust in him, and he will act." So this is something that happened for me, and you'll share your story as well. But right after my second breakup, I had a season of singleness. But what I was doing during that season of singleness was so important. This was when I actually had my first experience as a missionary. First experience having experience doing like ministry work, doing my first summer camp type job, whatever the case was, and that changed my life.
Same here. After my first breakup of 2 years we were in the relationship, I worked at summer camp that summer, the different summer camp than he was working at. I made the mistake of the first time I broke up with him working at the same summer camp, and we got back together.
Yeah, so that kind of on and off again.
So on and off. So I worked at a different summer camp, and then I was a student missionary the whole next year in the Philippines, and with a totally different group of people removed from the situation.
And I think that was probably the best thing, is like to remove yourself from that place, with all the same people, all the same places where you used to go to that date night together, or whatever the case is.
So that was just really healthy for me, because for one, it was a different group of people out of the situation, and for two, it was mission focused off myself and growing myself in in leadership.
Yeah, and that's what the scripture is saying, is delight yourself in the Lord. Learn to really make God first and foremost in your life. And as you're doing that, as you become more successful at that, God then will give you the desires of your heart, because the desires of your heart have changed. And this is really what's valuable about being in a relationship with God, is that he changes your heart and your mind. He changes the things that you want and that you find attractive. And so once I had gone through this experience, I kind of was changing. I'm not saying that I'm perfect now, but I'm very different today than I was before that first mission experience. And it's kind of funny, because when I think back to when we first met each other at the speed dating event, we've done videos on that. You can check the channel. But when we first met each other, we only had 5 minutes to talk and to hang out. And the first thing that you mentioned was
that I was a missionary in the Philippines.
The exact experience you had right after your breakup. And the first thing that drew your attention towards me was my involvement with ministry.
After your breakup as well.
So it's kind of bizarre that if we never broke up, we would have never done these mission experiences. And if we never did these mission experiences, we would have never really ended up being compatible with each other.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I see our breakups ultimately as being like God working.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy, because you don't feel that way in the moment.
You don't feel that way. You feel heartbroken, like you want to listen to all the sad songs
God,
on your
why?
Spotify.
You're all pissed off, right?
Yeah.
Did you have a song when you were going through a breakup that you had on repeat? Mine was the one by, who was the guy's name? He does that "I Won't Give Up on Us" song.
Oh, Jason Mraz.
Yeah, I played that hundreds of times. Like, I won't give up.
Yeah.
I should have given up on that relationship, because it was just it wasn't what God wanted me to have.
Yeah.
And so, when the Bible says all things work together for the good of those that are called and that love the Lord, right? That's so true. You may not see how that works out until years down the line, but if you can choose to trust and put your faith in God and realize that God's looking out for you, he has the best in store for you, and be willing to trust him and to delight yourself in him, you find out later on that he gives you the desires of your heart. So hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah.
If you're going through a breakup or you have a friend that's going through that, we really would just want to encourage you. Realize that you're not alone. You're not the only person who's gone through this, and that God is still there. God does care. He realizes that you're in pain and that you're hurting right now, but He feels that as well. And at the end of it all, He's gonna work it out for your good, and you're gonna see, 10 years from now or however many years, and hopefully you don't have to wait 10 years to find out this being true.
Yeah.
But you'll find out eventually that God's in control. His plans are better than mine, and I'm glad that He's in control. So yeah, hopefully that's very helpful and practical. We want to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts from this video? How would you console someone? What advice would you give to someone who's going through a breakup? Let us know in the comment section below. But real quick, before we end the video, we want to give a shout out to audible.com for sponsoring this video. If you go to audibletrial.com/thatchristianvlogger, you can get a free audiobook for yourself, something for you, and it does support our channel as well and helps us make more videos like this one.
But until next time, we're That Christian Vlogger, and we encourage you to experience faith in the first person. God bless.